Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to Dr. Amira Kim and fellow friends. Welcome everyone to today's forum entitled TAKAFUL versus Insurance. First of all, hello everyone, my name is Nuraina binti Busri, 278324. I'll be your moderator for today's forum. Well, related to the title of our forum, which is TAKAFUL versus Insurance, today's panelists are Miss Elina, Miss Wani, and Miss Ayuni will be sharing and giving exposure to all of us more about TAKAFUL and insurance in our life. As we already know, there are two types of TAKAFUL, which are Journey TAKAFUL and Life TAKAFUL, or we also call it as Family TAKAFUL. Alright, without further ado, let's give some space to our panelists to start their sharing session. First and foremost, I would like to ask our first panelist, Miss Irina Izati, what the differences are between TAKAFUL and conventional insurance.
Thank you, our moderator for today. Assalamualaikum, I am Edina, matrix number 280055. By the question, what is the difference between TAKAFUL and conventional insurance? Okay, let me discuss this topic. As we know that TAKAFUL is a Sharia compliant insurance option grounded in Islamic muamalat product. The term TAKAFUL also refers to the concept of Islamic insurance based on mutual cooperation wherein members contribute money into a pool system to guarantee each other against loss or damage. Insurance is a contract represented by a policy in which an individual or entity receives financial protection or reimbursement against loss from an insurance company and more involved in conventional. Although the basic both TAKAFUL and conventional life insurance serve the same purpose of providing coverage, there are major differences between the two as can be seen. Firstly, intent. Individuals enter the agreement to contribute to a fund that can functionally help those experiencing the unfortunate situation. On the other hand, a conventional insurance policy is purchased as a personal financial security for an individual, and the insurance company is the risk bearer. Okay, next, in terms of investment, the conventional investment unit of insurance will invest based on their assessment of what fits their profile. However, TAKAFUL investment will follow the strict principle. TAKAFUL cannot invest in anything that has element of gambling, uncertainty of the practice of lending money at unreasonably high interest rate. Then, the term of return. If there is extra money because of low claim rate by insurance under TAKAFUL, it will be distributed to the participant, while the profit from the investment will be distributed to both participant and shareholder. TAKAFUL operator make money to performance fee or by sharing the supply, but the total amount of payment from the supply that TAKAFUL operator get cannot exceed the amount that is paid to TAKAFUL participant. However, under conventional insurance, extra money and profit belong to the shareholder of the insurance company. But last but not least, the TAKAFUL entity must follow an fee system from riba, gara, and maise. Conventional insurance has an element of riba, gara, and maise. That's all for me, and I will pass it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Alright, now I can clearly see the differences between TAKAFUL and conventional insurance. Thank you so much, Miss Irina, for the explanation. Next, let's move to Miss Wani to discuss about what is life and journey TAKAFUL more deeply, and also about the hiba in TAKAFUL.
Thank you, Ms. Erina, as our moderator for today's forum. Before I share about the question that our moderator asked just now, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rusazwani binti Muhammad Sanusi and my metric number is 279535. I am as panel 2 for today's forum. Okay, as we know that in Takaful, there are two types of Takaful, which is life Takaful or family Takaful, and also general Takaful. Let me start the sharing in terms of concept of life Takaful or family Takaful. Family Takaful actually provide both protection, policy and long-term saving for you and your beneficiary if something happen. The contribution to a fund is for participant special account and participant investment account. For participant special account, PSA will be used to fulfill the obligation of mutual help if the participant face a misfortune, and for participant investment account, PIA will invest the participant saving and profit will be shared. In a situation that we can see, if we suffer a tragedy, the beneficiary get benefit, and if they survive until maturity date, they will be entitled to share the net surplus. Next, I would like to share about characteristics of family Takaful. There are several characteristics of the family Takaful that I would like to share, which are in long-term contract with usually level contribution, observation of the principle of utmost good faith by both party unilaterally contract, permissible Takaful interest, risk to be covered increase with time, and last characteristic of family Takaful is contract of addition. In the family Takaful, there are also four types of risks. They are covered which are premature death, total permanent disability, old age, medical, and health with critical illness. Next, in terms of general Takaful, the concept that we can see is this general Takaful, which is to provide a form of Sharia compliant risk management based on the principle of risk sharing. General Takaful is also referred to as property and casualty Takaful. As you know, this Takaful is a short-term contract, usually covering a period of 1 year or less. In consideration for participating in a general scheme, the participant agreed to pay tabarruk contribution to a fund for the purpose of providing mutual financial help to any member suffering from any defined loss or demand. In general Takaful, I also like to share about the characteristic of this Takaful. As I mentioned just now, this general Takaful contract usually lasts 1 year or less. Another characteristic is we can see an aspect of varying contribution at renewal. Based on this reassessment, a possibility different contribution rate may be charged. The difference in the rate could be due to two basic causes, which is change in the nature of individual risk to be covered, and also overall change in the certificate rates for the particular risk to be covered. Last characteristic we can see is the settlement of a claim will not terminate the contract unless there is a total loss claim paid. For part type of general Takaful, actually there are four types that we can see, which are motor Takaful, fire Takaful, marine Takaful, and miscellaneous Takaful. Okay, for motor Takaful, third party Takaful protect you against loss or demand to a third party vehicle due to accident, thief, or accidental fire. It also covered loss or demand of third party property, bodily injury or death. A comprehensive Takaful cover protect you and third party against injury and property demand caused by accident, thief, or accidental fire. Home Takaful, there are two types of home Takaful, which are the house owner Takaful and the householder Takaful. House owners Takaful provide coverage against loss or demand caused by flood, fire, and other risks. Householder Takaful cover the loss or demand to the content of your home. For marine Takaful, cover the loss or demand of ship, cargo, terminal, and any transport or cargo by which property is transferred, acquired, or held between the point of origin and final destination. And for last type of general Takaful is miscellaneous Takaful. Miscellaneous Takaful is cover 14, which is all Takaful, burglary, money, and plate glass. Firstly, we can see some of the risks. Actually, this plan is designed to cover loss, demand, or destruction to the participant property, be any accident or misfortune. The coverage include wear and tear, depreciation, mechanical or electrical defect, breakdown, damage to the travel truck, bag, and others. War, invasion, radioactive, contamination, and nuclear weapon material. Burglary is to cover loss or damage to the cover property by thief consequent upon actually possible and violent breaking into or out of a premise or by armed robbery or robbery with violence. Money plan is intended to protect industry or business establishment against loss of money which may be carried by a messenger and or employees of the participant and which may be in transit from one place to another. And lastly is for plant glass is designed to cover all type of plate glass in a building. The protection afforded by this plan is very wide and general is cover any accident, especially impact demand by any means. Lastly is about hibah takaful. Hibah takaful means that upon the dates of the takaful policy holder, the distribution of compensation money from the takaful insuring company to the heir of the takaful holder can be done by hibah, which means directly. Through hibah takaful, the individual can donate his property to anyone, whether family or not, while the individual is still alive. As we know, before we want to give hibah, there are some conditions that we must have, such as the absolute owner of the property to be donated, be eligible to give hibah, and lastly, have full power of the property. For the recipient of the hibah, the following are the conditions, which is if the recipient is a child or a disabled person, a guardian or trustee can be appointed to look after the property received by them. The grantee exists when the hibah is made and the hibah recipient can control the amount of benefit awarded to him. Next, I will share about the type of hibah. There are three hibah, which are ordinary hibah, trust hibah, and conditional hibah. The basic definition of hibah is a gift. In the context of a normal hibah or ordinary hibah, the hibah giver wants to give his property to someone. Property here can mean house, land, farm, and so on. Everyone knows a hibah is something that needs to be given while the recipient and the giver are still alive. For the trust hibah is a gift directly to the recipient of the hibah. However, what is different here is the recipient of the hibah is not yet or is not qualified to receive the property. When this situation occurred, the authority will assume to be the trustee until the recipient of the hibah is eligible to receive the hibah. Next, conditional hibah is a special hibah for takaful only. This means conditional hibah cannot be gazetted by properties such as house, land, and so on. In this hibah, it's mandatory to have three items, which is the grantor is the owner of the takaful certificate, hibah receipt is a debt claim, and takaful compensation is hibah item. What is interesting about this conditional hibah is that it has its own privilege. In the Islamic Financial Service Act 2030 IFSA, a conditional hibah is a system or instrument for an estate so that a family can get cash in a short period of time. It is much easily than managing a property like a car or a house. The Act protects affected family where the takaful company is obligated to pay compensation within a maximum of 16 days. That's all from me, and I will pass it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Wow, there's a lot of great and clear information about takaful and hibah. Thank you, Miss Wani. Now, I would like to invite Miss Ayuni to give an opinion about the importance of having proper risk management by knowing what type of takaful that we should take and also an idea to contribute to Islamic risk management system and takaful industry.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Farhana Binti Abdul Razak and my metric number is 278799. So I would like to talk about risk management in individual level. Business in industry is prone to a few risks. 5 types of risks in business have been identified that are relevant to takaful business. First 2 types of risk is underwriting and operation risk are directly related to operation of takaful company. The first one is underwriting. So underwriting risk is pertinent to insurance and takaful. It occurs due to adverse selection of applicants or due to re-takaful risk as a result of inability of re-takaful operator to meet the obligation towards seeded company under TAKAFUL agreement. Adverse selection refers to the tendency of selecting applicants that result in higher than average chance of lose. The risk of adverse selection arises when applicants with higher than average chance of lose succeed in obtaining TAKAFUL coverage at standard rates. An example: high risk driver of persons with success health problems. It will result in higher claim ratio and put the firm on high liquidity constraints. Rent-a-car risk occurs as the credit company reminds levels for a portion of outstanding claim to the extent rent-a-car operator fails to provide financial protection to the car operator in accordance with agreed terms. The second one is operational risk. Operational risk is not a well-defined concept yet Basel Report 2006 defined it as a loss that occurs as a result of inadequate or failure internal processes, people, technology, or from external events. Internal processes failure occurs Ahmad and Han 2001 as a result of inaccurate processing of transactions, ineffective record keeping, violations, operational control limits, non-compliance of regulations, and others. People risk may occur due to incompetence of employees, fraud, and failure to perform the duties. Technology risk may arise as a result of telecommunication system or computer network breakdown. Risk from external events includes unenforced ability of regulators' policy, legislation, and regulation that affects the fulfillment of contracts and transactions in the organizations. These risks are also called legal risks and are considered a part of operational risk. The objective of risk management in TAKAFUL, among others, are first, to protect the safety of the TAKAFUL fund. Second, to ensure the fund can pay claim and obligations. Third, to achieve a required rate of return on investment if possible. Fourth, ability to withstand an adverse condition. And fifth, to ensure continuity as a going concern. Most of the TAKAFUL operators classify their risk into three headings, namely the TAKAFUL risk, financial risk, and operational risk. Identifying and classifying the risk in TAKAFUL business is important as it will enable them to manage the risk more effectively. Approach to risk management may include have a common language in terms of concept, the definitions, and classification on adopt a wide disciplines approaching create and instill a strong risk governance focus on aspects that is quantifiable and seek for continuous improvement. In this sense, the industry is able to share the best practice among the TAKAFUL operators. Adopting the appropriate approach will make risk management more relevant, practical, and acceptable. The important technique of risk management adopted by the TAKAFUL operator are self-assessment risk, asset liability management, ALM, solvency, capitals, TAKAFUL or risk transfer program, key risk indicators (KRI), warning the business on possibility of risk and any losses, and business continuity management. The recent trend for the TAKAFUL operator is to adopt the enterprise risk management (ERM). There is a growing demand from the shareholders and senior management to implement ERM in their organization as this means formalizing the external connection between the business operations and its overall risk management program, Shimpi and Lowy, 2006. The initial stage of ERM is mostly about complaints and corporate governance, and this may include the Sharia compliance. Enterprise risk management (ERM) has emerged as a new paradigm for managing the portfolio of risk that face the organizations, and policymakers continue to focus on mechanisms to improve corporate governance and risk management. ERM is the process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling the activities of an organization in order to minimize the effect of risk on an organization's capitals and earnings. ERM expands the process to include not just risks associated with accidental losses, but also financial strategies, operations, and other risks. ERM could be considered as the systematic approach for managing risk, Makers 2005. If the risks were to be managed effectively, companies may possibly achieve their corporate objective and eventually create value for their stakeholders. Despite these developments, there is little research on factors associated with the implementation of ERM. Research is needs to provide insight as to why some organizations are responding to changing risk profile by embracing ERM and others are not. It is not known whether ERM can mitigate the risk associated with the TAKAFUL industry. As discussed, the prominent issue in TAKAFUL is the Sharia non-compliant risk. If the TAKAFUL categorize Sharia compliance as part of its operational risk, then ERM may be a valid as strategy tools in managing the risk of TAKAFUL operators. Whatever classification given to the Sharia compliant risk, the issue is pertinence in the overall TAKAFUL operations.
Right, it's true. Thank you, Miss Amy, for the great explanation and ideas. Alright, everyone, we've reached our end of today's forum discussion about Takaful and insurance. I hope it gives a few more information and knowledge to all of us by how to manage our risk. Thank you everyone for your time. That's all from us. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.